And we're back with the second half of our tonight's show. My guest tonight is Representative Rick Staples, who represents District 15 in the Tennessee House of Representatives. Rick, welcome to DTV, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us this evening about your race for the legislature and your goals for your next term in the state legislature. And the reason I can say that with confidence is you don't have an opponent. Is that correct?
Well, it's true, but you always have yourself.
You have yourself.
You have your constituents, so it's always working.
Yeah, so it's a real election is what you're saying.
It really is. They tell you it's a part-time job, but it's not.
No,
it's a full-time gig.
I watch you. I know it's not a full-time job.
Right.
As we move into this discussion this evening, why don't you remind the audience of your history in the legislature, both who your predecessors were, as you just talked about, as well as how long you've been there and what have you done since you've been in the legislature yourself.
Okay, I got like a little funky stagger term. So technically, I'm in my third year. I've been able to bring a little over $500,000 home to the district, and I was able to pass 10 bills this year. I've been spending the summer working on 5 very complicated pieces of legislation that I work on next year. Haven't been talking a lot about those. It's taken a lot of work, and we're still working on it. So hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 of those filed in November. My predecessors are Joe Armstrong, Pete Drew, and then we all got our start by the living legend Bob Booker. And Bob Booker's first assembly portrait is down the hall from my office. And whenever I get despondent or need to focus myself, I just walk down the hall and talk to Bob Booker. And he has those pork chops down to here in the picture and a head full of hair, and just kind of gives me inspiration.
I understand that. I know Mr. Booker not well, but I know him well enough to know that he's pretty inspiring, and
good man.
And he has an awful lot of information to share when you can sit him down and talk about that. Exactly.
Indeed.
So why did you, when you first ran, or you were first recruited, I guess, what was there about the legislature that you thought you might be interested in serving in it, or did you just kind of
I was drafted. I was actually a project manager at the time, and we were rehabbing 2 houses in Newport and 5 in Morristown, and I had some guys on a roof, and one of them yelled down to repeat something to me, and I got a phone call. The individual said, "Hey man, look, we're gonna nominate you. Joe just went through his situation, so we got to put somebody on the ballot. We're gonna nominate you for state representative." And I said, "What?" He said, "I just told you I need 3 more shingles." And I said, "Well, I wasn't tired." And I actually got bit by a spider that day because I was distracted by that phone call and driving to Nashville. Yeah, it just wasn't on my mind or on the radar, and it was kind of a whirlwind. And we'll look up, and here we are. Thank God I was a politico and knew what the legislature was and was familiar with it, so I didn't get completely ran over by that train.
And you had sought office before, so that you had at least gone through the campaign issues.
Yes.
So you had you had that knowledge. Yeah.
Right.
I remember when you did those rehabbing jobs, because we had you on DTV a couple of times when you came in from them.
For those, So
exactly.
we had some work going. I was making $1 or 2.
It was good days in those days.
Yeah.
So now that you're in the legislature, what are some of the public policies that you feel you'd like to bring to the people or bring to the legislature that both represent your community as well as the community of Knoxville and the state of Tennessee in total?
There is a tremendous amount of work to be done. A lot of our laws and policies need to be revamped to look at. I'm trying to work on something with the kinship care program. Currently, if you have a child in the kinship care, a child that you have custody of, maybe because of opioids, you only get paid $100-something per child a month. So just some of the things we have are antiquated. Tort reform needs to be reviewed. Our policies on juvenile justice and the justice system as a whole. We need to continue to look at medical marijuana. We also need to look at the fact that the federal government has allowed sports betting. And there's they estimated maybe $500 million could come into the state of Tennessee within 2 years if a bill is passed with that. So there's work up there to be done. So just tackling a lot of things for young people. Teenage suicide and suicide attempts is an epidemic proportion. So I have a number of things I'm looking at.
Now, how many of those that you've just enumerated are going to be assigned to a committee that you're on, and how many of them are assigned to another committee where you have to work with another legislator?
Well, the Speaker of the House, which will have a new speaker along with a lot of new people, new legislators and new governor, will select the committees. Currently, I'm on consumer full and consumer sub, which deals with a lot of business-related things, consumer protection, as well as our unions. And I'm also on the health full committee. But then I see every bill because I'm on calendar and rules, but to get to argue it again before it goes to the floor. Now, I don't know what committees, obviously, I'll be on once we go into that, depending on who the Speaker of the House is. But now, having said that, Doug, that was a great question. But as far as looking at what committees they will land on or go through, being a Democrat at the legislature, a lot of people may be familiar with Ninja Warrior and how you have to run through a gauntlet. Well, that's what it's like being a Democrat. You send your bills through a gauntlet, and you hope that you can get it through, because they beat you up, beat your bill up, and you just hope you can get it to the end. So yeah.
Am I hearing you say that regardless of which committee you're on, when you submit a bill, if it goes to committee, you're going to go and follow that bill through that committee as well?
You have to. I mean, I know a lot of people are proud of me, and I appreciate that I was able to pass 10 bills. But then I have a lot that didn't make it. Okay, so you have to start out with a number of them and really try to work hard on each one, because it really is a gauntlet to try to get it through and get it to the floor.
So experience, what you're telling me is experience makes a difference. In other words, you need to know the legislators you're dealing with. You need to know what their foibles are, I guess. And so then having some experience helps you pass legislation.
Oh, you have to know what kind of mindset you're dealing with when it comes to the chair and vice chair, the full and the sub. And then you need to know the members on both those committees, kind of what they bark at and maybe what they'll help pass. And you have to kind of get a feel for that and start conversations. I've spent a lot of nights in the legislative garage trying to catch people to have those conversations. So you'll have about a 14, 15-hour day.
You know, we've got a lot of new and pretty impressive candidates running on the Democratic ticket this year. It looks to me like they're going to have to need some help from you. They're going to need to take some advice and kind of have a little school from Rick Staples as to how they're going to deal with the legislature once they're elected.
Well, yeah, you got to feel your way. Don't get too opinionated. Do a lot of listening. It's hard for politicians to be quiet, but do a lot of listening. Establish some relationships. And I'm country, I tell people the same thing. You got to trot your horse. Don't put it on full gallop when you're going through there, and learn your way a little bit.
Do you have any policies that you'd like to see this legislature reverse? I mean, I think we had some odd things go through the legislature since 2010, and I'm wondering, can you pick out some things in there that you really feel should be reversed, or that you could work on to reverse? Or?
There were two. There was a lot.
Yeah.
But I think two bills, the 20-week on abortions, no matter what may be going on with the child at the time, just women's rights were so violated. One thing I say about the legislature currently with the majority, they really like to dictate down to the cities, the municipalities, and they really like to control a woman's body. And it's very offensive. And that was something that kept me up for a couple of nights. It bothered me. And then to take money away from Memphis, that $250,000 was ridiculous and offensive as well.
That was just simply punitive.
Yeah, and that was no reason to do that. Memphis is one of our historic, famous cities. You don't try to punish an entire city just based on your politics. And that was just unfortunate, unfair. Those are two things. If I just go back in time and reverse, I would do it immediately. Yeah.
Now, what is I know that you've had influence in the legislature because I've heard the stories you've told about them, and you've passed some bills, and you know, which is kind of unusual. What have we got? 28 seats out of 99.
25 with a fighting 25.
25
and three in the Senate.
So that's a pretty big number to overcome.
Right.
Okay. So my question then is, what have you done to influence other legislators to follow your bills, and ultimately having to vote for them?
I really work hard on my budget appropriations and my bills to make sure that they're respectable. I really don't try to fool around with it. I take it serious. I go through and make sure they're tight. And you know, if you support one of my bills, it's something that would be good, obviously for my district, but the entire state of Tennessee. And that's how I look at it. I try to make the approach of what's good for this state and what's good for my district. I'm a Knoxville boy, so really I love my district. Obviously, I'm very fortunate to represent the 15th district, but I try to take care of Knox County as a whole. And then if I look like it can work in Knox County, then it'll work across the state. And a respectable budget request for institutions and organizations that are true Tennessee institutions and organizations that make this state better. So they know that when I bring a piece of work before them, I've worked hard on it, and it's a quality piece of work. So I try to let that speak for itself.
How have you learned from your constituents as to what they want and how and their inputs on the legislation that's both before the House, whether it's yours or not? But what, in other words, I guess, what kind of mechanism do you have in place that you can listen and hear from your constituents?
The mechanism I have is my ears. I actually hear, and I keep my mouth closed. One, I have some very outspoken constituents. They would catch me at church, at Kroger's, at Walmart, while I'm eating, and let me know what's going on. And I love my district because it's the most American district. It is so diverse. I mean, I have individuals that are lower to middle class to extremely wealthy. I have downtown in the old city and the fort, which are very historic. But then I have a lot of East Knoxville, and then there's areas in South Knoxville that are historic and a little bit are booming. So if you just go to the neighborhood meetings, stay engaged with the community, your constituency would give you ideas. They would give you what they actually need. They will let you know their issues, and you just need to try to work on them. But then work in concert, in my mind, work in concert with local elected officials, not try to overstep into county commission or city council or even the school board. Let those representatives do their piece and try to see how you can assist what they're already doing as well.
Presumably they're talking to you as well. In other words, not just your constituents, but also those who represent your constituents on the commission and the board.
I try to make sure everybody's talking to me. You know, it's hard. I try to make sure all my representatives are talking, right?
I think the fact you listen isn't important.
It's the only way you can learn.
Okay,
so, yeah.
So what are going to be your goals for the next legislative session that are really probably uniquely aimed at your district?
I have a few things, Doug, that I'm actually really working hard on. Obviously, it's when you really get the work done on your bills is during the summer, and so I've been working since been out of session. So I'm not in a position to reveal those yet. We have to tighten a few things up. I want to get it right for the gauntlet. Okay. I want to take care of some of the historic areas. I have original Knoxville, historic Knoxville. So I want to take care of some of our historic institutions and organizations as well. So I'm trying to work on 2 or 3 things to maybe secure some stuff and see if I can't get that going.
So that'll be revealed to us after you pass the bills. That'll be good.
Right, whichever one survives.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see.
What advice do you have to those who are also running? We've got a lot of people who are running the first time. And do you have anything that you want to say to them?
Well, first
at this
of all,
point, because they're going to listen to this as well.
Right. We have really very intelligent and articulate candidates. The other night, they spoke at our fundraiser, Get Out the Vote fundraiser, and they were so articulate. They knew their stuff. And so what I would say is, hang your district, know your district, listen to your district. Your district is what elects you. Your district is what will continue to elect you. Make sure you're getting around your people, your constituency. They matter more than anything else, is the people that you're choosing to represent. Never shy away from, be it a church bazaar or a Cub Scout meeting. If they ask you to come out, get out in your district, learn your district. That's what's really important.
Looks like you've done that, because you say people recognize you at the Kroger and a number of places.
Even when I have a hat on.
Even when you have a hat on.
So I'm not used to that. Yeah, right. So, yeah.
Well, let me just say to the audience, thank you for listening. I think we learned some things from Rick tonight, and the most important thing you do is vote.
Exactly. And make sure at least 5 people besides yourself have voted. Please be responsible for at least 5 people.
Thank you, and Rick, we'll see you soon again.
Thank you for having me.